Today is June 17th. We are at the Board of Health meeting. All board members are in attendance. First line item will be acceptance of the prior meeting minutes for May 6, 2025.
I will make a motion to accept the prior meeting minutes of May 6, 2025.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna sign them all. Where the hell it- Okay, old business, we have Flint Road. Jim's not here to bring us up to speed with anything. I don't know if you guys saw the email, but we did have, looked like a detection of 1,4-dioxane in 54 Flint Road, one of the monitoring wells. I think it was a .38 detection, which is above the limit. But we've had history in that monitoring well. I think it wasn't that monitoring well. I think it was one next to it. But we've had history of that in the landfill. So we didn't have to trigger a 500-foot radius and start off with all that. There was 2 houses within the 500-foot radius that's already in our program.
Right.
And they're currently receiving either bottled water or on the water filtration system. You gonna say something, Steve?
No, I just wondered which 2 houses it was.
It's the one across the street from Flint Road, and then it looked like it was the first house on Old Town Road, the bottom one. And it may have been the 2 of them there, but they're already in the water program. Yeah, so it was more of a FYI for us. It's no new news. In the LSP that called it out is still recommending to keep our sampling. I think that one's annual, so they're not trying to increase sampling or do anything like that. It was just like, oh, we had a hit that was in exceedance there a little bit, so they're keeping an eye on it.
Had nothing else?
No,
Was
that's the only thing that I saw, and I haven't heard anything else. So, PFAS ongoing, same old. So there's nothing really going on with that. Andrea, do you know what we're going to do for department head reports? Nothing new. No, okay,
That's good news.
that's good news.
Yeah.
I've been speaking with Jim like once a week, something like that, and it's been relatively quiet. There's nothing really crazy going on. I know summer camps are getting ready to open up, and I know he did say he was going to do camp inspections. I think he went with Kim, right?
Yeah.
So, do you know how those turned out? Everything good to go?
Yeah.
Everything was good with that. So, so the only other thing that we really had was the Tobacco Coalition, and what we wanted to do, I guess while we're here, if you could, you signed in, right?
I did.
Yeah. So I guess we're going to jump ahead a little bit. I know we have one more coming, it's probably another 5 minutes late, but we wanted, or me specifically as the chair, I wanted to know like what our appeal process is. So, for example, like we've seen, like currently or recently, that just happened was like a $2,000 fine, and then there was like a loss of or a suspension of work for I think five business days or something like that. It may have been 7, but like my question is, because I don't know what the answers are, but when they get appealed to us and the store or the person that's appealing come to our board and say, listen, we feel, this was wrong, or it's too much, or the reason this happened because of whatever the appeal questions may be. I wanted to know, like, as our board, what's our authority? Can we eliminate it? Can we reduce it? Can we, as far as the monetary fine values, can we, you know, obviously we can agree to it and let it fly. So that was like one question I had. One of the things on one of the fines that I think it may have been a $1,000 fine event, but and it said right on there, this is non-reducible or something like that. So that one was black and white. I could see that one. And then, so that's my first question. Like, what can we do on what's our authority? And we're not like there's no specific case, so we're not trying to call out an incident or anything like that. It was just like, what's our authority? If you find somebody, or if your team finds somebody $300, is it $300 period, or is that reducible or whatever?
Okay, so my role in tobacco control is that I am one of the inspectors.
Mhm.
So I do retail education visits. I also will write a violation if one is found. I will either write a state violation, say if it would be a youth sale, or I find something during the retail education visit, a flavored product, a coupon violation, a self-service display, something like that, which is a state fine.
Mm-hmm.
So those fines start at $1,000 for the first offense. The youth sale is the one that comes with an automatic 3-day permit suspension
Mhm.
for the first offense. The other ones do not.
Okay.
So those fines are not reducible.
Okay.
Okay, there must be maybe an issue in protocol or procedure, a processing error in the violation. That might be something to go on. But this is something that Joan is planning to speak with you about.
Okay.
So, but I am the one who brings in the retail education packet, gives information to all of the 10 retailers in Charlton.
Mm-hmm. So how do you do that? Like you bring in an information packet, because there was some confusion, not confusion, but I guess there was some question about
Sure.
English being the first language, and maybe one of the owners or something didn't understand it.
So I actually I wish I have one in my car, so when Joan gets here, I'll scoot out and,
Okay.
and grab it for you.
Yeah.
But so on the first page of the packet, it actually has, I believe, 7 different languages.
Okay.
So we are able to get an interpreter in if there is a language barrier.
Mhm.
And I have done inspections, requested, and now we go in with an interpreter for each inspection to those stores in our 46 cities and towns that we have. We do go and do that.
So how do you know what interpreter to bring? You just past history, you know, like, oh, we got to bring in someone that speaks Hindu, or like,
We've had, they've requested.
I see.
So we've given materials in different languages, but that is something that Joan handles more so
Okay.
than I do.
Yeah.
So
And then the packets, like they were saying, they come like with pictures and colors, so you could show like a menthol product that would have a picture like, dude, this is not allowed or something.
right. So in 2020 when the flavor ban took effect,
Mm-hmm.
we did a lot of calling of retailers, mailings, visiting stores, bringing pictures. I have a lot of pictures of flavored tobacco products on my iPad that if a retailer has a question, I can just refer to that picture.
Mm-hmm.
So I can show. Also, we give out our phone numbers. A retailer can call us, text us before they invest any money in a product.
Mm-hmm.
To, a distributor might come in and say, oh, this is fine to sell in mass. But retailers feel comfortable to take a picture, send it to us, and ask us if this is okay.
Okay.
So
That's
we're
pretty
very
neat.
accessible about this because these fines are a lot. And
Yeah.
I think education is really key.
Mhm.
And where we've been doing this now for 5 years, in our communities in regard to the flavor ban, education is really important. And we do, last year we brought in, over the summer, we delivered our retail education packet to all of our retailers. We also emailed it to them if we had an email on file so that they could read it. But we also had, that delivery, that if they had any questions, prior to our actual retail education visit,
Mhm.
which for Charlton, I'm doing this by memory, I believe it was in March. I inspect 500 stores,
Mhm.
so I'm trying to just recall.
Yeah.
But I believe it was in March this year that I did the retail education. Maybe it was April, but I'll check. But, you know, we just want to make sure that they have everything they need to be in compliance and not get these fines.
Yeah, we do too.
And there's
Yeah.
also local fines too. You know,
Right.
Charlton does have, you know, local cigar pricing, things like that.
Yeah. Do you have any questions?
No, I was just thinking it's very complicated with some of the flavors and so forth. We've heard not very often that something comes before this board where there was either a question or a violation, or real retailer says, "Well, I didn't know," and you brought it up. I think in one case, Matt, you may remember this. I don't remember how many years ago it was, but they were selling something, and I don't know whether it was flavored chewing tobacco or whatever, and the poor store owner was saying, you know, they sold it to me. You know, I mean, they said it was okay. And, you know, so they're.
The state does have a
Stuck.
requirement for retailers to have something called manufacturer letters. So these are letters that are given by the manufacturer. You can get them from your distributor, and they're just lists of products that are acceptable to sell in Massachusetts.
Okay.
So retailers can refer to those letters to make sure that the products are the ones that are on their shelf. You don't want somebody who they get a delivery on the weekend, the owner's not there, the person thinks, oh, I'll, you know,
Put
help
this
out.
out,
Yeah,
yeah,
and it, you
yeah.
know, they delivered by accident mango flavored, you know, game or something like that, and it just goes on the shelf, nobody notices, and then one of us walks in. But if they had their manufacturer letter, the person could refer to that letter and see, oh, wait a minute, that's not on there.
Yeah, I think what you might be referring to, John, and I don't remember if I'm probably going to say it right, but is CBD a thing? Is that a thing?
It is a thing, but it's not us.
But is that legal or illegal?
I don't believe it is.
Don't believe it's legal?
Well, there's different, so there's Delta 8, there's Delta 10. Those are flavored products, and here's Joan. So those are illegal to be sold in Massachusetts, and then we were finding
Have a
those
seat.
in retail stores.
Yeah.
Flavored products.
Because we came across, and I think they had one. I think they had one in the form of like a frog or something like that, but it was a CBD frog, and it was on the counter, and it was like, what is that?
Yeah.
When it like first came out years ago, and
Yeah.
I think that.
We do have information in our retail education about CBD products in food and drink. We give it to our retailers, and it's just a reference because we are asked about those products quite a bit. But yes, but it's not something we oversee.
Right.
So we provide the state handout that comes from the state database on that.
Okay.
I'm just going to run and get a retail ed packet unless you have one.
I do not.
So, we were waiting for you to come a little bit, so we're kind of beating around the bush. But basically, what you missed was my first question. It was a two-part question, and it was me specifically, but as a board, like we were wondering. And she answered some of it, so I'm just
Okay.
telling you where we were. Like the question was, say somebody gets a fine, right, in the town, what? And now somebody appeals it, and they come to this board. What are we allowed to do on a fine, right? If it's a, can we reduce it? Can we eliminate it? I know we can let it stand as is, but that was one of the questions. She answered, if it was a state fine, then it's non-reducible, and that we can't do anything about it.
That is correct.
Yeah.
If it's a state violation, you can reduce it. If it's one of your local 100, 200, 300, you can do multiple different things. You can reduce it. You can continue it without a finding to be paid if it's another violation. You can find them not responsible for just about any reason. For state law violations, your reasons for not responsible would be protocol error, processing error, or that the evidence in your mind doesn't support that it actually happened. So the excuse or the reason why doesn't really come into play with the state violations, because something like we were on vacation, we trained a new person who made a mistake, or there was somebody who didn't know while I was out. Those types of things, those types of excuses for the state violations, it doesn't matter because it's on the law is set up now that the retailer, if it makes it to your shelves, there's things that should have happened within that store environment to make sure it doesn't make it to the shelves.
Right.
But I did bring you some information. Was there a second part to that question?
There was.
Okay.
And so the second part was the suspension of operating, like if they get a 5-day suspension that they can't sell or whatever. The question was, can we reduce it? Can we eliminate it? Can we stagger it and say, okay, you can't sell it on the next 5 Mondays, or does it have to be consecutive, or how like what's our authority as a board? And there's no case that we're trying to figure out right now.
Right.
It's just like general questions, like what, because I've heard different things, like, and the one I did see, it was on a fine, and it said right in there, it was black and white, non-reducible. So non-reducible is non-reducible. So when they come and they appeal to us, there's like not much we can do about it because it's non-reducible.
Correct.
So
And all fines are paid to the town of Charlton.
Mhm.
So we've never seen a state law before that gives the towns the money instead of the state collecting that money. So in Charlton, you get the money. In Sturbridge, their violations, the town of Sturbridge. So all checks are made out to the town of Charlton and collected and put into your general fund here. So in terms of permit suspensions, your local reg, the 100, 200, 300, you have 7-day for the second offense and then 30-day for the third offense. So you would have flexibility to do what you want with those.
Mhm.
With a state law violation, they have to be consecutive days. So they can't be, okay, the 5 Fridays in a row, you're gonna be suspended. They would have to start on the first day and end on the 7th day. With sales to minors, there is no leeway on reducing the suspension. It's 1 to 7 for the first day, no less than 7 for the second offense, and no less than 30 than the third offense for sales to minors. So flavor, say they have flavor, they have 5% vape with that they're not supposed to have, or they're missing the verification letters that they're not flavored. Those are all state fines. That would be $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 that you can't reduce. Permit suspensions on the first violation, the state doesn't give a permit suspension. However, if your local reg gives a permit suspension on the first day, you would implement whatever your local reg says, and then you have the flexibility of what your local reg says. And then the other thing I wanted to say, like, it's been a long time, and the good news is we haven't had to come to Charlton that much for appeals and things like that. But we're your agent, and we work for you in the same way that Jim does.
Mhm.
We're just not paid by you.
Mhm.
So everything we do at one point in the beginning, your board gave us permission to do, or we worked it out with Jim that this is the way it's going to be done. Jim has chosen to have us do the violation orders and prep them and send him the whole packet, and then he prints them on Charlton and he looks them over and he sends them out. Where all of our other boards have us just, we're your agent, we send them out, and if there's an appeal, that's when it comes before the board. I did tell Jim that I would give you copies. We have violations, so you can see what the copies look like that we prepare for Jim, and then he looks it all over, and then he signs and sends them out.
Can you say that again, though? What we're doing different than other towns?
We only have 2 towns out of 46 where we send them to the town and their local agent sends it out.
Mhm.
We send them out in the mail and scan them the day they go out in the mail to each board for the other 44 boards. So, but that's a choice of each board. Each board had their choice of how they wanted to do it.
But what is it that you're sending out?
Like if somebody has a violation, this is the violation order. Have you seen the orders yet?
I don't think I
Okay,
have.
so this one is a recent order that went out, and this is what the violation order looks like. And this is this one is a state violation, so this is the state database. This is the template for the state database. So this is provided to us. This cease and desist order is a template that's provided to us by the state for state violations. So this one happened to be a sale to a minor. So this is what it looks like. Additional violations for this would be, let's just say they sold a
flavor.
No, I'm just thinking, like, if you had if you had cigar pricing, say they sold a cigar under the local pricing, here we check off selling the minor, and then additional violations, we put local pricing violations, so there would be another order attached to this.
Okay.
Previous violation in the 36-month, we provide the 36-month history, so when you see that this is a second violation, the second page, you'll see it's a second violation. We show you where the first one was. And in this particular case, this is a second sale to a minor. They had already in January, they sold on the reinspection. So if we do all of Charlton at once and everybody passes, you're all set unless there's a complaint or the board wants us to investigate something for the year. If you sell in that original inspection, say 3 sell, those 3 get re-inspected. And if they sell again, then they get re-inspected till they're compliant.
Right.
And in this particular case, they sold in January. We just did the re-inspection to finish up the year, and they sold again, so they sold 2 times in a row in the youth access inspection.
So when you do the re-inspection, that's when you send in another minor to
Yes.
see if they'll be sold to. Okay.
Yes, so they sold 2 times, January and then in May for the re-inspection. This triggers another re-inspection, but we don't do the re-inspection till this one's paid and resolved and served, because we don't want to stack on people before they've even had a chance to pay their previous violation. We do extensive in-person visits with every retailer, and every retailer has our numbers to call us if they have new staff and they want additional training, they want extra packets, they want to ask us questions about, like, hey, we had a Charlton retailer call us today, a distributor came by with this product, I'm not familiar with it, can you help me out? And we will, it's retailer responsibility to make sure their products are legal, but I'll drop what I'm doing and help them, because I would rather help them than find it in their store later, because we're all about helping people come into compliance. We're not trying to catch people in non-compliance.
Right.
Every year since 2020, Charlton retailers get this in-person visit, and then they sign. They sign that they received it, and this is a different violation, but this is what it looks like. And we scan these to Jim.
I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, so this shows, it says what the documents were in the packet, and this is the packet that we give them, that we go over with them. And then we do, in case there's language equity, we put the first paragraph, this is an important packet, please review it, but then we put in all the different languages we know in our 46 communities. If you need this for your employees or yourself in a different language, please contact us and we'll convert it over into a different language. And we have access to, through Google Docs to 264 languages.
All
So,
right.
Should
So-
cover it.
Yeah. So now, like a violation like this, Charlton, you send this to Mr. Philbrook first, and then he distributes it to.
yeah, he prints it on Charlton letterhead. That's why this is just the copy. He prints it on Charlton letterhead and he signs
He
it.
signs it and sends it to the offender.
And he sends it to the offender.
Okay.
Yes. And then he lets us know if they pay it or appeal it. And for the majority, most retailers, we don't have a ton of non-compliance in Charlton. We really don't. The majority of the retailers, we've never had an appeal, and we've been working with this board since June of 2020. So most retailers will pay it. Like, for example, we go in, this type of visit, Jody's in the store, so they know. But on the youth access, to protect the youth that's doing the inspection, we contact them the next day by phone and tell them at approximately 11 o'clock yesterday there was a sale to a minor, so they have a chance to check their security cameras and find out what happened. Usually once a retailer checks their cameras, they realize the sale happened, they don't appeal it.
I see.
So-
Because we had one time that was staggered by like weeks or something like that. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yeah, we did one and then did another one.
No, my recollection was like there was a violation, but the store owner wasn't made aware of it until like 5 or 6 weeks later, and then there was no video footage because it had gone by or something like that. That was a while ago.
Yeah, so on state violations, the sales to the minor, there is no time limit, but we do notify within 30 days. So, but a lot of retailers buy their security cameras, and it's 3-day storage, 7-day storage, 30-day storage. Some more bigger outfits can have 6-month storage, because whatever you have for your security cameras, you have to pay for that storage. So some of the smaller retailers, they only have like that 2-3 day storage.
Right.
So this is an extra courtesy. What we do is we do a courtesy call the very next business day to let them know And, this is what, for the sale, this youth sale right here, the courtesy call, he spoke with the owner the next morning at 9:30 in the morning. So we keep a phone log. I couldn't bring the phone log in, so he puts this in a Post-it and I log it into our phone log, so.
Okay.
So everybody's notified, so now he has a chance. So now if it takes us 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we made contact with the permit holder to let them know so they have a chance to look. Because unfortunately, other towns are not as good as Charlton, and we have a lot busy with non-compliance. So if we go out in a week and we have 17 violations, we process them in the order of the day that we received them. So sometimes it can take a little bit, especially if it's during vacation time or staff's out for, like we had staff out for some family leave act this year. We had a flu A ran, so someone's out 2 weeks, someone else is out 2 weeks. So, you know, there might be some gaps. We really do try to do it the next available business day that we can get that out. But the owner knows the next business day that sale had happened
Right.
based on these calls. Now, it's a courtesy call, so if they don't pick up our phone because they see tobacco control on there, or we get a voicemail and they don't call us back, once in a while, but we'll make a notation if we couldn't get a hold of somebody.
Right, and you said we tried to call, nobody picked up or whatever.
Yeah, that hasn't happened in Charlton, the youth sales, the few sales that we've had. We've had a few violations, but not a lot, and most people have paid them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when it comes to the suspension, we have 2 up-and-coming violations, and they're both suspended for this Friday. So, they both have 7-day suspension. One is on a local, and one is on a state. So let's just say they come forward for an appeal. The local one, it would be, we would recommend the $200 fine, and then the permit suspension would be up to you. You could continue it without a finding as long as another, because it's the local one. You could say, you're gonna serve 3, but we're gonna continue 4, or you could say, we're gonna lift the suspension. But whatever you do, you're setting precedent for anybody else who gets to a second offense that may come in and ask for an appeal. And it also, to everybody who's already served the 7 days, because that's what your local reg says. And I did have, this is your violations for your local reg, and I do have a copy of the Charlton local reg. So when we go out, we always pull up the reg, whatever town we're going out, we pull up the reg, we're aware of what needs to happen. When we go to do the violations, we take the state law, the local reg, and make sure that the orders all reflect what you can do. But
So with the case by case, I mean, on the precedents, we can go case by case though, right? If there was,
you
I mean,
can go case by case, but you set a dangerous precedent if somebody says, well, this is my excuse, but we're going to let you go, but someone comes with the exact same excuse. If somebody's saying the reason is the same, you have to make sure you're consistent in your
Right.
in your findings.
Yeah.
So, we recommend that if you give a break on the second offense of a flavor violation, the next person who asks for an appeal, stay consistent and give the same break, because the bottom line is we call these expensive mistakes, but if they're a repeat violator that we just haven't been able to catch, there will be a third time, and that's when it will really hurt, because there's no excuse really for a third time of a state violation. So,
Yeah.
it won't hurt you to be consistent. Where you don't have that flexibility is the sale to the minor. That's the most egregious offense of all the state laws, is selling to the minors.
so as a board, because I don't think we know the difference, maybe we do, but so our first question should be, right, if somebody appeals, is this a local offense or a state offense, or Jim should be telling us it's a local offense?
It's in your violation. So let's just say this was an appeal. I brought these in as if it was an appeal. If we were in front of a retailer, it's just like a clerk magistrate hearing or a speeding ticket hearing.
Yeah.
You open up the hearing, we tell you what happened, we provide all the evidence, we tell you everything that's happened. The retailer tells you whatever they're here to ask for and tell you. We give you our recommendation, and then we're both here to answer any questions you have, and then you make a motion to find them responsible or not responsible. So that information is all provided for you, but we usually come to the hearings, because it's just like a parking ticket hearing or a
Yeah.
clerk magistrate hearing, and you run it the same way.
So at that point, that's when we realize if it's a state or a local?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, and it tells you here too, because it says selling to a minor, this is a cease and desist order, and a local violation order looks different. So
Okay.
this one's a state order, and it references the state law, the CMMR on there. Yeah. And, you know, we do have one where there was confusion. There was somebody who had a flavored hemp wrap and an unlocked humidor. The fine is on the unlocked humidor. That's been in the state law for, with no confusion. The hemp wrap, there was confusion on that, so everybody gets a warning if there's a flavored hemp wrap. Everybody was asked to remove them. They removed them in August. They signed the sheet, the hemp wrap. We bought the hemp wrap. Let me look for it right here.
I think it's weird.
Oh no, it's in the individual file. So this is what they signed. They signed for this packet, and what I did is I attached for you, like we bring the packets, the signature sheets, so we show you that they received the education. This is what we go over with them and tell them that they have to do. And then they removed them, and then now we do our annual inspection. They removed them here in August, but now we do your annual inspection 6 months later or whenever it's scheduled, and then they're back. So we're like, well, we did educate you. You know, we showed right here that, you know, a manager or owner signed for your store, or an employee if there's no manager owner, and we did follow up with this. So, you know, we proved the education was provided, and they had that chance to remove them before we fine them, because we're not in the business of trying to fine people.
Right.
We're in the business of trying to make sure everybody's in compliance
Right.
with the tobacco law.
So wait, like,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
trying to
we're-
do the same thing.
Yeah. Now, we make a recommendation. You don't go with our recommendation, we move on. We're your agent, regardless whether you use our recommendation or not. If we're doing something in the process and the protocol, as long as it doesn't violate state protocol, you want us to change it, we change it. You know, we're done with your youth access inspection for this year, and the school calls you and says, the kids are telling us they're able to get tobacco on the corner store. You can call us and we can do an extra inspection for that store because it was a complaint. So, you know, we work as little with you and as much as with you as you want to see fit as your agent. But we definitely don't do anything without permission, and we don't do anything without running it like with Jim. We let him know when we're coming into town for what inspection, and when we're coming in for a re-inspection, we let him know. If we get a call on our line about something to do with Charlton, he's the first call we make, and we take our direction from him as your head agent.
I have a question.
Shoot it.
Would you know offhand how many retailers are currently selling tobacco products in town?
There's 10.
Yeah.
10?
Right here.
Now, are they like liquor where that you have to apply and be licensed through the town? And is there a certain limit, like, is there a state limit or a guideline that says, oh, you got a town of 10,000, you shouldn't have more than 10 tobacco retailers in town?
So they do have to apply for the Department of Revenue for licenses to sell tobacco
Right.
in the state of Mass,
Yeah.
and you cannot give them a local permit without that. According to your regs, you have a local sales permit, so that you do have that, but you don't have capping. What you're talking about is capping, and you guys do not have capping. So a lot of my towns do. In Charlton, they do not. So you could, if 30 more could open,
Oh,
but
okay.
right now you have 10, so there's no capping. But a lot of towns do a straight cap where we're never gonna allow more than 13. Some towns do a cap where they're gonna say, when somebody goes out of business, that one gets retired, and our 13 is now a 12. But it does not get retired if you're in business and you're selling your business within the year of, so it doesn't stop a business from selling. The permit's not transferable, but that location has the right in a sale to pick up that permit without it being retired. So there's a retiring cap and a regular cap. When you guys passed this in 2019, the capping language was in here. You guys must have decided at that time that capping was something you did not want.
And we were here for that. I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't
because,
remember
well,
either.
this reg looks like a lot of everything, because we all work off a template given to us by the state. We present it to the board and say, here's a draft reg, what do you want for your town? This is what you should have in here by law, but what do you want in addition? And I noticed one of them in your towns, blunt wraps is something that is a local, most towns prohibit them. in yours, you put blunt wraps. Normally, people put nothing, but you put blunt wraps are allowed. So you clarified that you guys are going to be allowing blunt wraps.
We talked about that.
Yeah, we have like, so blunt wraps are allowed. Most people just don't put it in the reg at all. You guys specifically stated that you want, that blood wraps weren't prohibited, so.
Just to make things more complicated.
Well, it actually clarifies, so now there's no doubt
Yeah.
that no doubt it was missed in the regs. But we out of the 46 towns, we probably have 6 that allow blunt wraps.
Or don't allow them, or allow them, yes.
That allow.
Yeah.
We only have like maybe 6 that allow blunt wraps. So it's blunt wraps are one of those things that if you're not in an area with high use sales or high reports of parents confiscating them and schools confiscating them or whatever, like a lot of people just left blunt wraps. But over the years, they became problems for different towns, and towns added that in. But that's a local policy, not a state one. 100, 200, 300 non-crim. You have latitude. Yeah, okay, I understand how that can happen. Okay, we're going to continue it. We ask boards now to continue rather than not responsible unless there's something really wrong in the protocol or how we did it. If we have no skin in the game, we don't know anybody, we're not connected to anybody, and we use the state iPads. When we're taking those pictures, it satellite stamps the coordinates of the picture that it was taken. When we pull in and we just open up the iPad, it satellite stamps it with the longitude and latitude is right on the inspection. So no one can say we weren't in the store, it wasn't them, it didn't happen. When we pull in the parking lot and our youth goes in, we got the coordinates in the parking lot, and then when we take the picture in the parking lot of the cigarettes the youth purchased, longitude and latitude. So, I mean, it's very hard to say.
Wasn't me.
Yeah, Shaggy, it wasn't me. It's very hard to try to do that. But a lot of education goes in with our retailers, so they understand. They know they're being inspected. They know they get re-inspected. When we do a permit suspension and we say you're suspended, we are sending in secret shoppers, and it might be 10 minutes before you close. It might be on a Friday night. It might be, Monday right when you're opening. So, we let them know that they're being checked so they can do the best that they can to be, conscious of not getting more violations. I mean, short of telling them what day we're coming.
So, the scanners, right? I think some of the stores, and I don't know because I have nothing to do with any tobacco products or any of that, but like, don't a lot of the stores give an ID and they scan the ID or it goes through a machine? Is that?
Yes, there is great scanning technology out there, and then there's average scanning technology and so. And we have some stores that it's on at all times, so if the clerk is busy, they scan their own ID in because they're too busy to ask, and then all of a sudden a violation happens. So unfortunately, the law says the fine has to go to the retailer for that. Not the clerk who, here's the retailer who spent all that money, did all the training, and now the clerk is putting his own ID in. We just learned at another hearing that we just had that this one was in air, that the store had 4 sales in a row to a minor, and they were up for a permanent permit revocation. And they said that we have this scanning technology, but the clerk can hit yes, no to use it. So we were like, okay, that might not be in your best interest moving forward. The board did decide to give them one more chance, but they had to do a $5,000, serve 20 days from their third that they continued, and another 30. So it's a 50-day suspension, another $5,000 fine, and then their permit will be revocated if they have another sale in the next 36 months. Charlton, we don't have anybody in Charlton on the radar or anywhere near that type of
It's
situation.
gotta be a lot of money in cigarettes to pay that.
This was a liquor store too, so it brought up concerns like how is a 17 and 18-year-old, because the 4 sales, we can use up to 20 and a half, and we do, but we have right now I think we have 13 youth. What we do in their ages 16 to 20, once they're 20 and a half, we don't use them because we're not trying to use somebody that close to the date. But we train them at 1 month before they turn 16, and then they just stay on our payroll through college, through high school, through, as a part-time side job. And they all get texts. The first 2 who answer get the spots in the car, and then we alternate. If only 1 kid answers, we'll still go out with 1 kid, and then that 1 kid does the whole town. But when we come to Charlton to do the annual inspection, everybody gets done in the same day. In the same car, the same two kids are being used.
It's a good job for this kid.
Yeah, there you go. They pay $20 an hour.
Yeah.
So,
You'd probably get carded.
well,
Yeah, well, he's 12.
be less work for us.
It's not like the old days where,
It'll be less
where you
work for
could
us.
have somebody like this walk down to the store with some fake note and say, my mom has the flu and she
Well, that was back in
she
the
wants
day.
a pack of Cools.
They didn't need a fake note when I was a kid. I used to go buy them for my mother.
Yeah.
I didn't have a
They didn't
note.
care. Or you can walk into the bar down the street, for me,
Yeah,
with a
I
couple of
went in
quarters
with a
and
note
put it
from
in
my
the
mother.
machine.
Well, my mother was in the car many times. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that was back when the year I was a freshman in high school. The high school had a smoking quad for the seniors for senior privileges,
Mhm.
and it ended that year. That was the year that all that went away, and there was no smoking. But,
Was that like 89, 90?
I graduated in '85,
85.
so it was my freshman year. So this was in Athol, Mass. So in Athol, they got rid of the smoking lounge in '81.
I think Shepherd Hill was a couple of years after that.
Yeah.
But it's odd because I remember them being able to smoke when I went to that school, but I went there for 6 years. It was 7 through 12, so it may have been at that. I was there in '85, so maybe it was that.
Yeah. I just had this for you guys so you could see your policy section. And in your own regs, you say the state law is always consecutive days, but in your local reg, you say consecutive days too. So you can't, as a board, do anything but consecutive days. You can do less than. On a local law, you can do less than, but you can't go, okay, we're gonna let you do 7 Fridays because your reg says consecutive days. But you could reduce it, you can continue it, you can say, yeah, pay the fine, but we're gonna find you, we're gonna lift the suspension, you don't have to even serve it at all. You have those options, but when you issue one, it's gotta be consecutive days,
Okay.
unless you change your reg.
Well, this is helpful for me, to be honest with you. So, Steve, do you have any questions? No. John?
I think I'm good now.
Yeah.
And
that was helpful.
I did want to let you know that when we started in 2020, somebody signed a participation agreement with the Department of Public Health and Massachusetts Tobacco Control Program, and we've been on extensions. We got extended through, so we're here for you as much or as little as you want us through June 30th of 2028. The new RP comes out like January that year, and we'll recontract. So all of our boards that are with us now, they would make a determination, do you want to continue with us or not continue with us? But right now, we have a waiting list of 11 towns that want to join us. So we started out at 14 and we're 46 now. So 14 and 94, and now we're 46.
So, I have a question. Who does the towns that don't have you or anybody else? Is that possible? What would happen?
there
Somebody
is.
from the state would go in, or?
Well, there's these collaboratives, I forget what they're called, like 6-town collaboratives. Charlton's part of one.
Coalition?
Yeah.
What's the collaborative that, collective services, I forgot what they're called, like collective services.
CCPH.
Yeah, I'm sorry?
CCPH, Charlton Coalition for Public Health.
Yes, so they write for grants, so some of those people are using money and doing tobacco control inspections. In that grant, we are the tobacco agent for, I think, 3 of the 6 towns, or 4 of the 6 towns. 2 that aren't funded by us are on our waiting list. So, you know, Jim would like to see them jump back in as soon as we get them in, so everybody's having. And what they're doing is they're using our templates and some of our stuff, and everybody pays dues to Mass Municipal Association, and almost everybody pays dues to MHAB. So if you're a board and you don't have a tobacco control person, they will help you set up regulations and get going. They can't do inspections for you, but they'll give you a technical assistance. And then there's a program from Mass Associated Health Boards, MHOA, Sarah McLaughlin, and Jody happens to be a per diem inspector for them. So those are unfunded towns. So she will go do inspections for the unfunded towns, but they were small and they just expanded quite a bit moving into this for the rest of this fiscal year and next fiscal year. So you picked up some around here, like the Brookfields and the,
I did, and I believe Spencer and Wales are.
yeah, Spencer and Wales has been picked up. So they got sent a letter, do you want to participate? It's unfunded. They don't have the money to do the post enforcement, which that's what we're fully funded, so we can do the post enforcement, like issue it. If they don't pay or appeal the fine, we file the paperwork and prep all the paperwork for that. If there's a permit suspension, we come out and check them the first day, send out the secret shopper report back that they were compliant or not compliant. It's very rare on a permit suspension somebody doesn't comply. Like, I've been doing this for 32 years, and I think I've only had twice that it's ever happened, and it was like, oh wait, we thought it was next weekend. So instead of turning it into a non-compliance issue, we just reset the permit suspension for the next weekend, and then checked everything out and sent the secret shopper in. So, yeah.
Well, with this is just a question, which is whatever. Probably not. We're not there yet. But with technology and automation, and like all these new stores where there's no real people back there, what's going to happen to the tobacco industry? You know what I'm saying?
You mean like you can go to an airport and a kiosk and just put your card in? They probably won't allow. I don't see them allowing that in places where the stores are, or there's got to be an extra layer of something. Like there, you just swipe your card and there's a little thing on it, and you walk out and ding, it charges your card if you grab Pringles or Doritos.
Right.
I think for lottery, alcohol, and tobacco, there'd have to be an extra layer where you pop in an ID. But I could be standing with him,
Right.
and he could have my ID and pop it in, and he walks away. So there's got to be some sort of. I don't know if technology or AI would get to that point. But that's a good, something.
They'll be the sole survivors. Will be the alcohol and the
Alcohol, tobacco,
cigarettes will be the only
and-
ones left if you want a job.
Like cannabis is pretty locked down and locked up, and buy it legally. You got to go in, give your ID, sign in every time.
Paying cash.
Pay, and they only let so many people in the store at a time. So I have a feeling what you might see is that those types of product get moved to adult-only stores, where I don't think the convenience world would be accepting of that, because they want to be able to sell their M&Ms, candy, coffee, and their tobacco.
Right.
So I'm not sure. So where are we going to be? Where I am from '94 to now, I didn't think we'd be where we are either. So
Yeah, I just see like there's a lot of retail stores where there's just no real person there. It's all computerized. Like
Really?
Yeah,
Have
like
you seen this?
it was on like TV, like in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but like I feel like
Airports and
yeah,
travel.
but like even like
destination.
New York and some of these, there's like these stores, or California, there's like these retail stores, but they're unmanned. They're open 24/7, and it's like they're like king size vending machines. You get what you want.
Amazon to go, you just walk in and they scan your card as you walk in. You're already pre-registered and you shop, and it just, as you leave, there's no checkout person. Everything has a barcode, and it just scans it as you leave.
So that's what like.
But I wonder what happens if somebody just grabs your stuff and you leave without the scanning.
You
Yeah.
can't, it's as you enter, you're like,
Oh, you can't get in.
yeah, you enter and you're scanned in. You're
Okay,
pre-registered.
so you can't get in without the scans, and if your card is declined or not good, they don't let you in.
Well, I'm sure there's a person to stop you if that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting.
Somebody,
where it's gonna
one
end
person
up.
in the back watching everything, maybe. I'm not sure. But I think now, like loss prevention, like now, any store, if you're in Walmart and you run out of there with a cart of stuff, they don't chase you now. The policies are let them go. We don't stop shoplifters. We don't chase anybody now.
Yeah,
There's all kinds of.
that gets into the insurances and the workers' comps and all of that side
Yes.
of all of that too. Because I know for a fact that's like overseas, it's the same way. There's like Home Depots and Lowe's out there, and people like literally will walk out of the door with like bags of items, and they just walk out and don't pay for them, and staff can't do anything except call the police.
Yeah, I have a copy of all these orders. These aren't the official ones because they weren't the signed ones, but this is what the state, I'll give you each one. It's in that copy too, but this one's just different. So this one is not a sale to a minor. This is flavored tobacco. So in this case, I would bring this to show they got educated, the owner actually signed for it, and then.
This is unlocked from the door.
Yeah, so here. And then, so this would be, this is the actual inspection sheet straight from the state database. So I go in and I put the visit number in, go to the store, hit it, and ask to email me. So this comes straight from the database. We can't change this information. This is what happened at the time of the inspection. and then it timestamps all the dates down here, and then these are the pictures that were uploaded at the time. So every violation will show, this is the unlocked humidor, these are the products that should not have been being sold in the store because they were flavored hemp wraps, and whatnot. So, and then all the notes. So this is what we present when we come to a hearing. And then we also do an additional flavor sheet. We do this in writing at the time of the violation, and what we do is we write it out because this is a little bit easier for the retailer to understand. And in this one, you know, they got warnings for all the hemp wraps, but the actual violation was an unlocked humidor because it's a $1,000 to $5,000 fine by state law to have access. The humidor is supposed to be locked at all times, and the clerk's got to go unlock it and unlock it every time if it's not behind the counter. And that fine used to be 100 to 300, and I missed the memo from 2000 to 2024, and I was issuing everybody $300, 100, 200, 300 local, and then I put it in the state database, and the state contacted me and said those fines should have been 1,000 to 5,000 for each violation. I don't know how I somehow missed, you know, like a unlocked humidor. I wasn't thinking of it as
Well, it's
on
in
the
local regs
yes,
too.
yeah, it's in the local reg.
So this unlocked door, what's in there? Cigars?
Cigars. So this is the actual, if you want to see it in color, does that help?
She's pulling that up from the iPad where it's timestamped.
So you can see
These
the
are
door was
our
unlocked.
state issued iPads.
And then,
What the crazy thing is like right next to it is all just baskets of all the different flavored nips and all the alcohol that is right there that
Because
anybody.
alcohol
Yeah.
doesn't have that regulation. So in this particular case, what we feel like, this is an expensive mistake. We've had some past issues, we've worked it out, they reach out, we give them a lot of education. We consider this an expensive mistake. Nobody feels good about writing an unlocked humidor cigar. You're busy, you meant to lock it, you forgot to lock it, but at the end of the day, if we see it, we don't have the discretion.
Right.
But now that it's here, so this would be one that you could give, okay, I'm sorry, we can't reduce the fine because it's a very expensive mistake, we're sorry, but you could give latitude on the permit suspension.
So any appeal, someone from your team would come to our meeting?
Every
during-
time. Yeah. Yeah,
That's
well,
interesting.
if we did the inspection, yes. If Jim did his own inspection and
Right.
he wanted us to write the order for him, or he wanted us to back up the process, we would come too.
Right.
Because if Jim sees a violation, these are your regs and it's the state law,
Yeah.
Jim could write. But if he saw something, typically, I'm going to tell you, once boards have us, they say, okay, we want tobacco control to do it. So it's very rare. We do have food inspectors, though, that they sometimes find either an employee smoking inside the store, so they want us to write a smoke-free workplace ticket, or they find something that they're not supposed to have, and they send us their food inspection report, and off of that, we can issue a violation for the town. So that does happen.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
If there was a retailer that was selling a menthol product, well, let me rephrase this.
No, just hypothetically.
Hypothetically, if there was a store that sold tobacco, but customers went there to buy menthol, but the transaction happened out in the back parking lot, how does that come into play? Is that related to the store? Like if there was
if we send a secret shopper in and they ask for a menthol product and the store instructs them to go out back for the exchange, it's on their property. It is a flavor violation that also gets reported out to the Department of Revenue, and it triggers the Department of Revenue, because if they're selling menthol and you flip that over, there is no mass stamped menthol.
So it gets even worse.
So that means it's a New Hampshire stamp, a Pennsylvania stamp, they bought it off a truck. There's no menthol in the state of Massachusetts that can be sold that has a legal tax stamp. So that it triggers a bigger investigation. We get our $1,000 fine for that. Now what happens is sometimes that will happen and the owner will say, oh, my manager had a side hustle, I didn't know about it. But what we say, with your security cameras, you're telling me that they're stepping outside and selling in your parking, and you've had no, like there still has to be some responsibility on the owner. I mean, you could use a little bit of discretion, but
No, it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but what we do find,
It happens.
we had a store that cut the sheetrock out and put 2x4s in between the studs, and they put a big rug marrow, like huge rug marrow. We're like, who puts that behind their space? We go in, Jody does her inspection, nothing. The the Department of Revenue inspector is in this store, and it was in Orange, Mass. And he called me. We have an office in Athol. He called me. He goes, Joan, do you happen to be in Athol today? Oh yeah. And he goes, how fast can you get to my store? I go, 6 minutes. He goes, I want you to get your $1,000 fine off of this because this is ridiculous. So I went in there, and he rolled the rug up. But he was just walking around, and the corner was rolled up. So Jody had just inspected it, and I mean, we just wouldn't think unless somebody tips us off. Just like an out-of-order ATM machine right next to the register that's out of order all the time near the register, people fill that with illegal products. And so now we go in and check and make sure you can swipe your card on an ATM or it doesn't say out of order. If it says out of order, we ask them to open it.
Oh, the stash and stuff inside.
Yeah, yeah. We have found
Plates, under kick plates.
under kick plates, so everything, Board of Health Code says everything has to be 6 inches off the ground, so the shelves are 6 inches, and some have kick plates, so no dust bunnies. You can flip those open, and then they put flavored vapes under there in the middle of the aisles. So, and then sometimes we've had stores that there's an apartment with the store near the store, so they ring in bread or milk for the product, and then they tell the person to go out into the parking lot, and then somebody comes out of the apartment. But in that case, that one was rung in your register. You know, if it's rung in your register, the owner's in on it. So
Yeah.
there's, and then there's times where we have complaints and we know it's happening, but it's only happening to the customers absolutely known to them. They're not selling in our secret shoppers, and we can't catch it. Some people can tell if we're a half a mile away, if we have their security cameras are so good they can tell if we have a pimple on our face. So if they see Jody's car or my car, or see us pull up, they know our cars, they know us, and it's going out the back door. But we have caught people by bringing one inspector this way, one inspector that way, one's in the back door waiting. So as they see Jody pull in, they were trying to walk it out the back, and now we catch them in the middle. I am happy to say that we have no incidences in Charlton that has had us have to do any of this type of investigation.
Well,
So
I did hear that, and I don't know if it's accurate, but one of the inspectors, I don't know if it was you or not, was talking to one of our store owners outside when they sent the minor inside, and then the minor was sold the product by the person that was covering the cashier. That's a story that we heard.
it wouldn't have been our inspection, because there would be notes in it, like for instance, if sometimes our inspector would pull up to a gas pump, might be pumping gas, but I mean, if that had happened, the first thing that would have been, the guy that does our youth inspections, he's super experienced, he's a housing and food inspector for the city of Leominster, and he's been with me for 18 years. If that had happened, there would be significant notes saying, because any dialogue with the owner or employees has to be documented in the post-inspection sheet. So,
Didn't you guys hear that story?
yeah,
I
but
don't recall.
I do have to tell you, it would be, there's state inspectors and federal inspectors. I can't speak to if it may not have been our inspection for you guys locally. It could
I
have
think
been,
it's one of the ones in your hand right there.
it did not happen.
That, when,
Yeah.
when
This
the
one
yeah.
did not happen.
So I was told, and maybe I'm mistaken about it, that when someone from the inspection team pulled up, the owner came out, that person came out and was talking to him outside. Somebody covered the register when they went in and sold to a minor. That's how that went.
Maybe it's this case, and I
That's the
don't,
case I'm talking about.
I mean, there's nothing,
Regardless, you're
Yeah.
responsible for your employees too. So I'm,
right.
but that's
Right.
what I was told.
But how would the employee inside even know that that kid came from that car, or
No, when the owner was out talking to the Tobacco Alliance,
yeah,
the sting went in, and that's when the violation happened.
right,
The
so.
owner himself was not in the store.
So that was not me. I do the retail ad.
Yeah, I'm looking at this, and it was Rick, and there is nothing, there's no dialogue that, and sometimes what happens is they sell to the minor, and then they watch the minor leave the store, and then they come out to the car and knock on the window and go, oh, we meant to ask him for an ID, and then Rick would say,
Too late.
it's, you have, and if they stop the kid, they do the transaction and they sell, they have till the kid gets to the door. Once they step outside, but if they said, wait a minute, excuse me, I meant to card you, our kid turns around and goes back to the register. So, you know, I will double check, but if this person appeals, we'll make sure Rick is here. We would make sure Rick
I
comes.
think
How
that
come you-
one's fine.
How come your kid doesn't do what any other kid does?
Run?
Run.
Yeah, because they're instructed to be polite at
Because
all
you know
times,
that's what
and
anybody else is
Yeah,
gonna
and
do.
they-
Giveaway.
Yeah, and you know, we work really hard to avoid entrapment, like, or even the appearance of entrapment. They can't wear sunglasses, they can't wear hats. We tell them that they dress what they normally wear, so we can't tell them to put something on or take something off. So if a kid picks up and they have like their sport jacket on with their team name on it, we don't tell them to take that off. That's almost a gift to a store. They got a high school jacket on. That's a gift to the store. So we don't, because we're just trying to see on an average day without anything. The other thing is they're instructed to go straight to the register. They don't walk around the store. They don't buy other products. They go straight to the register, ask for the product, and they don't engage in any conversation unless the clerk is like, hey, nice weather. So we don't start conversation other than asking for the product. They don't lie. So if the clerk goes, hey, how old are you? They go, oh, my birthday is. That's what they say for the first time. And then if they go, well, does that make you 21? They would say no. That, you know, they have to be honest at all times. They can't lie, but they can ask a question, answer a question with a question, and they can give an answer instead of saying, you know, I'm 18, they can give their birthday. And sometimes clerks will go, oh, well, I'm sorry, you're not old enough, or they'll go, oh, and continue with the sale and just still sell the product. But,
Interesting.
yep. But I'll look into this and I will have an answer for that tomorrow. I can email Jim, just say, Bordenberg asked something, I checked with our inspector.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to check with our inspector. And sometimes what happens is, you know, if the kid came out and got in the car, the owner would have been, or the employee would have been sitting right there. You know, they would have saw the clipboard, they would have saw, and I know Rick would definitely make a notice, so I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I'm going to ask, but it may not have been our inspection, because we're at the time now, April, May, June, the federal agency, the state agency, and us, we all have to have those inspections done by June 30th, so it could have been a different state or federal inspection, but that is not in our
What's that
protocol.
one?
Oh, he said it was this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Because lots of times they'll go back and look in their camera and we'll say, can you show us your security cameras? And they'll be like, oh yeah, no, you know. But if he had contacted us, that's the first thing we would have said. When he got this, if he contacted us, we would have said, oh, do you mind, we'll come out, we'll come look at the security cameras
Yeah.
for you. I would be very surprised, but I'm still going to ask him just in case, because there may have been, well, yeah, a worker came out and I was at the gas pump or wherever he was, and but normally that is 110% supposed to be noted if there's any dialogue of any kind with staff, because these are inspections where we pull up, but we don't go in, and we don't, adults don't, our staff doesn't engage with adults because we don't want to put the kid in a position in the middle of an inspection. It's a state requirement to keep the kids safe.
So let me ask this, and I'm just hypothetical. Say that's the case, and Rick says, well, I was speaking with the owner outside when the underage went in and was sold to. Would that be grounds to throw that one out?
No, because they still failed. and
They
did
still
have-
sold
they-
to a
you
minor.
know, and it would have been a bigger tip-off if the owner, was it the owner or the
What's that?
staff?
It was the name on
Okay,
there.
so he's listed as the owner.
Yeah.
So if he was speaking to a tobacco control inspector who had a kid get out of his car, that was a gift to him.
Right.
Because now he knows it's a
Because
youth
they ride
inspection.
together.
I'm sorry? Yeah,
They ride
Yeah, they
together.
ride together in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it doesn't make sense. That would have been,
So this would have been where he was parked, so you can see the storefront.
Yeah.
So it's further away. It's not like when I go and inspect this store, I park right at the front door.
yeah, so
He's parked over by the road.
yeah. Right, but for youth inspections, we park so we can see the front entrance, but we don't park where we could be known. But you can see where he's parked.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so the guy came out of the store and crossed the street or across the parking lot to,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't hear nothing about it, so I don't know.
Yeah. But if he has the right to ask for an appeal and come before the board, but,
Yeah.
you know, at this point, he has a suspension on Friday, and no one has told us if there's an appeal or not.
I think they were holding off for this board to speak with you guys about the two. I think there's 2 live ones in town.
Yeah.
And I think they were just. I think we as a board were kicking that can down the road a little bit until we were able to speak with you before
Yeah.
there was an appeal.
Yeah, I would have, if I had known that beforehand, I would have gotten a statement from Rick or Hepburn here tonight, just to explain that, I mean, I would be completely shocked.
Yeah.
But if the store clerk came out and didn't recognize Rick as an inspector and just said something to him, the owner, Rick wouldn't have identified himself and outed the kid.
Right.
Rick would have, you know, like, what are you doing here, or can I help you, you're looking, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But, I mean, I'm looking at that picture, what would the owner come out for?
Yeah,
And
that's-
talk to a random person sitting in a car.
Right, I get it.
So I'm leaning toward, sometimes they look at their cameras, and because we give them the time that we went in,
Mhm.
and sometimes their security cameras or their cash registers are on Pacific time, or they don't account for daylight savings.
Oh yeah.
Because I had a retailer going, Joan, I'm looking, and I'm not gonna contest this, but I'm looking, and I go, it's daylight savings, you gotta go the hour before, the hour after, because your camera may not be,
Right.
ours is satellite time, is your security camera or your register on satellite time, and do you adjust it for daylight savings? And they went, no, and they're like, oh, yeah, no questions asked.
That's what it was.
And then they paid the ticket, so, or he may have talked to somebody that day and thought that was the
Yeah.
inspector, because we're telling him the next day, I bet you it was the car of the guy that I was talking to. Rick could be recognized because he does mostly use access, but he has done re-inspections on retail visits. But I don't think he's been to Charlton that much.
He did Charlton.
Huh?
A couple of years ago, he did do Charlton.
Yeah, like 2 years
re-inspection.
ago, he did a couple re-inspections in Charlton, but he doesn't, I don't know if somebody would remember his face from
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah. Plus, like the vehicle on the other side of the parking lot, there's no way it's like someone's looking at
Yeah,
out the
and-
window.
and
Oh,
I
there he is! 2 years later, finally. Like,
Yeah,
there's no way.
so I'm looking at this one, and I did bring the previous violation. So here's the previous violation that happened January 18th that triggered this inspection. And he sold, let me just see, he sold, oh, of course I can't see it. I was just trying to see what the age of the, oh, right here. So he sold to an 18-year-old male, and he sold to a 17-year-old male, 2 different kids.
Mm.
So he sold to an 18-year-old the first time, and then this time he sold to a 17-year-old. So two different kids.
Yeah.
So you parked in the same spot.
Yeah, and he parked in the same spot. But this one, he parked it, well,
This looks like it's similar.
yeah, no, it's different because the angle was straight on. So this time, this is how far away he parked, so he could still see the kid go into
It's
the
pretty
door.
close.
Yeah, pretty close to the same spot,
Yeah.
but, you know, what would spark an owner or an employee to come out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But, and I'm not saying he isn't being truthful if that's his perception of what happened, but it doesn't negate that his store clerk didn't
Still sold.
failed.
Yeah.
And Mass state law says you have to card every tobacco customer, including me, you, Jody. I'm clearly.
What are you trying to say?
I think I look 21, but under 21. But so the Mass state law says you have to card everybody.
How about? I don't want to drag this on. Just a quick question. But like, what about a fake ID? What if the youth gave a fake ID?
If a youth gave a fake ID, it wouldn't be in any state, federal, or local inspection because it would be illegal to do that and would be entrapment. It could be, you couldn't move forward with it. But if a kid off the street gave a fake ID and that person in good faith thought it was real, how would we even know? It's like,
Right.
did you hear a tree drop in the woods?
Right.
Because there's nobody, but let's just say somebody used a fake ID and somebody called and reported it. you don't get a violation unless it's caught in an inspection. So that case scenario, are there fake IDs out there? Yes, and in our education packet, did you give them a copy?
I think we put it in with the
Oh,
file.
the education packet, we have.
It's not in there. I have to attach those.
Oh, okay. So we have a one-page how to spot a fake ID and what IDs you're allowed to use in the state of Massachusetts. And we have, it's actually two-sided, colored educational piece helping, but they would not be receiving a $1,000 fine if in good faith they thought, unless it was written in crayon, you know, I mean.
Right, yeah.
In good faith, that would be a case where, okay, but there would never be a fineable because nobody can fine on something somebody reports unless an inspector saw it. So if
Right.
somebody calls me up and says, you know, my kid's going every day and buying flavored tobacco, if we can't catch them doing it, they don't get fined for that. It has to be an agent of the board, a police officer, your own agent or us.
And so, if just say, okay, me. Say I go to the store and I buy a pack of cigarettes, same store, day after day after day after day. They have to card me day after day after day
The
after
law
day.
says that they have to card you, just like at Fenway does, just like Fenway does if you ever go to a Red Sox game. But who's going to fine them if they didn't? Because we only care if they sold to a minor. Nobody's
I get
checking.
you.
But the fine does say if you fail to ID somebody, even if they're of age, it's a $1,000 fine.
Really?
Really?
Yes. We don't fine people on
No.
that.
Yeah.
Mm.
If they're missing a sign, it's a $1,000 fine under the state law.
Hmm.
If somebody doesn't have a sign, we give it to them and we have them put it up.
I was at Wegmans and I was behind a woman who was probably 60 years old and she was buying some wine and they said, ID please. And she pulled out her license and the person looked at it and said, your license expired in the past couple of weeks. And she said, well, you know, it's obvious it's me. They said, I'm sorry, it has to be an active license. And she was really upset. I can kind of understand why. So the clerk called over the manager of the store, and the manager of the store kind of got into it with this woman. And I was feeling a little bit bad for the woman, but at the same time, the guy said, look, this is our company policy, probably whatever. And they said, we're just not gonna do it.
So what probably happened is they have some site, there's no override. So when he put that in, it would say it was expired and it won't allow the sale
Oh,
to
that
happen.
could be, yeah, because I was obviously
Yep.
back, but
Yep.
and the conversation was getting a little
And then the
animated.
other thing is when we see companies do policies like that, that means they have gotten whacked and now they have a company-wide policy to make sure that they don't
Yeah.
ever have another violation. Because we had Peterborough Oil, they did their own secret shops and they fired their own employees if they didn't ask every single person in the store for a tobacco ID
Mhm.
because they had gotten so many violations. And the district manager of Cumberland Farms said to me, if every single one in my service area makes one mistake this year, that's $55,000 in fines for Cumberland Farms. That's only if they make one,
Yeah.
not on the re-inspection. So, and I'm only one territory of 55 stores. So, yeah.
that's a good
So
deal.
when they put it in perspective, like, you know, that. But my guess is that's a corporate policy based
Right. Oh,
on.
I'm sure.
They must have had a
It's-
had a
And I think they
violation.
have a sign right there, we card everyone for alcohol.
So did you buy our booze for her, Jim?
No, not like American Graffiti.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. If you
Yeah,
don't
and
have
we're
anything
here to
for
answer
us-
any questions, anything you had, we'll come down, we'll answer anytime, we'll send any information you need. If you see something, ask, we'll get you the information.
Yeah.
As long as it's tobacco or vape related, we can
Yeah.
get those questions answered for you. But I do want to say, education first. The goal is to help people. We get somebody who has had a violation, let's clean the slate and start over again. And the other thing for our youth don't go to school or work here. So we would take youth from Leominster out here. We would take, if somebody was in a youth program interested, say he was interested, we would pick him up and take him to other areas where he doesn't work and go to schools. And if a youth ever walks into a store and knows a customer or knows the clerk, they're instructed to just leave.
Yeah.
So we don't ever want to put a youth in a position where it's a brother's cousin's friend who sold and their store gets in trouble, or
Right.
you know, put a youth where it's known, or oh, I go to school with him, and you know, or whatever. So we go to great lengths to. It's a totally random person that's coming into this store that isn't known as a regular or known.
I can see that, yeah, because even he was assistant soccer coach with me this year, but he was the same age as some of the players. And some of the players were
Yeah.
like, I go to school with him and I don't want to play. He's not my coach. I don't want to play. It was a big deal to the other players, and I'm like, he's my son. He's
How did the experience work out? Did you get the respect by the end of the season?
no, the other kid
Oh.
got traded, so then we ended up on a different team. So, it
Oh.
didn't, but my other son got traded.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my daughter was AAU soccer. Yeah,
nice.
was it AAU? No, what is it? What's
Yeah.
the soccer? Yeah,
It's the
AAU.
travel teams.
Yeah, travel AAU.
Yeah.
All the way up. She was in adult soccer leagues till she broke her leg skiing in Switzerland.
It's because you guys have all the nice soccer fields out there
Yeah.
in Leominster.
Yeah, well, she didn't play for Leominster, she played for Athol, but yeah.
One more question before you
Sure.
go, because I know about 50 years ago, it was about half of the adult population of America was considered smokers. Now it's down to low 20s.
Yeah, it was,
22,
I think we got way down, we got down to like 21.8% for
Yeah.
smoking, and we significantly reduced its smoking, and then vaping popped on the
Oh,
scene
yeah.
and created, now vaping is, given extra money, and vaping is what made them raise the age to 21, and it considered an epidemic. And right now, the governor, Baker back then, put it in as a state of emergency, youth smoking and vaping, but it's really the vaping,
Yeah, I remember that.
youth tobacco use, and our current governor still has not lifted that. So it's still considered a state of emergency at the rates that youth are, and right now, poison control for the nicotine hotline has gone up 400%. For
What-
nicotine poisoning calls.
Is it nicotine pouches? I just
No, it was related to vaping and pouches, but a lot of the vape has really high content in it too. It's only supposed to have 3% in retail stores and 5%, but the pouches have really come into play on that. But but I'd have to look at the study. I didn't read the study. I just looked at the stat.
I saw somebody smoking, which looked like a blunt to me, right? It looked like tan colored, twisted wrap. It was short, but it was smokeless. He was inhaling, exhaling, nothing was coming out. It was odorless. It was like, are they smoking like air now? Flavored air?
No, I don't know.
I don't know
Like,
what
I
that
know
is.
the vaping industry has now re-engineered their devices, so it's a very minimum instead of this big smoke thing for work and school. And now they've come out with nicotine pouches, so if you need your nicotine fix at work and school, now there's no smoke. You can just suck on the pouch, and those come in anywhere 3, 6. We've seen them as high as 18. But other areas have seen them as high as like 24. So that's much. And a cigarette has, I think, 3 milligrams of nicotine in it. So to give you a perspective, what's a
So it's
pouch
like
compared
eight-
to?
It's like smoking 8 cigarettes at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's in
so
your mouth and nobody can see it. It looks
Yeah.
like gum.
there's no spit to it, no nothing. It gives you the nicotine fix, and that's why nicotine use has gone up, because people use that during the day and where they can't smoke, and then they go home and do their cigars, their vape, the cigarette, whatever else, whatever their vice of choice is. So instead of reducing harm, it's creating more harm.
Wow.
It's
there's a dollar
definitely
to
a
be
dependency on nicotine.
From somebody's
Sure.
seeing dollar signs in
Yeah.
the sales.
Yep.
All
Okay.
right. Well, I appreciate
thank you.
both of you coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you,
very
ladies.
much. It was,
If you think
it
of
was
anything
helpful.
else, just let Jim know. He can email us, and we can get you emails. We can send a lot of this stuff by documents too, so you have it. But if you do go into a hearing, we'll come every time.
Okay, excellent.
Now, if you
Thank you.
have a hearing and don't tell us about it, we won't be here. But we usually can make. Not too often we can't make a hearing.
We're usually pretty flexible here too, so we're good with like video or over the phone hearings too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Save
Yeah.
you a trip
Yeah.
out here, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
You do have remote. Then remote.
We got
option?
big
Okay.
plans for the
Yeah.
wall over there. It's not there yet, but
Yeah.
Uh,
No, we appreciate that.
you know, you can certainly call us and we'll just go on speakerphone. And you know, now that our board's seen and met and we've rekindled a relationship.
And usually we will email this packet ahead of time also to the retailer, so everybody has the information, and then we always bring a copy for the retailer as well. So if there's a hearing, everybody has everything, so they can take a quick look at it before we get here,
Yeah.
and we give it to the retailer as well. So
Okay.
okay,
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks again.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Is there any other business, John or Steve,
Not
that
for
you
me.
want to bring up?
don't think so.
So I think the next line item, because Tyler keeps kicking me under the table, I think he wants to go home.
Yeah, I would too.
He does. I told him a half an hour.
Oh.
but I-
Well, you know what, next year, Ken, once it's over.
So we went 4 weeks. That's going to bring us to around.
July 15th?
Yeah. Yes.
I
July
should be,
15th.
I should be here.
Actually 4 weeks. No.
1, 2, yeah.
Oh yeah, 1, 2. Yeah. Sorry.
July 15th.
The 15th.
Yeah,
So let's pencil in July 15th.
I'm good.
So next meeting July 15th.
Yeah,
6 o'clock. Subject to change, but probably not. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Call it, what time?
Let's go with 7:22.
7.